Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War, Warhammer 2 quick match gameplay. This time around we are on the map Eschen, playing as the Beastmen against the Wood Elves. And as you can see, this battle is about to start all over the place. Both me and my opponent had a very wide deployment, and yeah, things get very busy very quickly. So, going with an all Vanguard Beastman build, I did decide to bring Kazrak One Eye. He is on foot because I don't want to get... The big problem, of course, is that if my opponent had brought a bunch of Weight Watchers and Prey Anathema, he can immediately net Kazrak and murderize him in the space of a few seconds. So I really don't want that to happen. So he's on foot. Kazrak himself, pretty decent combat lord. Nothing fancy, but he does have some decent buffs. He's got Apocalyptic Vision, of course. He's got Scourge, and he's got Deadly Onslaught here. So he'll be able to buff his troops. He'll be able to... help himself do a good bit of more damage, and against the squishier Wood Elf floors, he'll honestly do pretty well in a straight-up fight. Plus, he can help tear through Wood Elf infantry really well. The front line is entirely composed of gore herds with shields. You can see we've scattered them pretty wide out. We do have the Blackhorn Ravagers anchoring the center. These guys have slightly more armor. Perfect vigor, which is really good into the late game, and of course, just better stats because they are a regiment of 9 veterancy regiment of renown. They actually share the same trait that the Centaurs do, that grants perfect vigor as well as a slight boost to leadership as long as their leadership is not wavering. For the rest of the comp, we do have 3 Ungor Raiders in the back ready to provide some fire support. A single Brace Shaman of the Wild coming in with Brace Scream to, do apologize there guys, but coming in with Brace Scream and the Bestial Surge just to keep my vigor up, as well as Devolve, of course, to debuff enemies, or destroy enemies really, because that was very squishy, and Jagged Dagger, just to get extra power serves. He is on a chariot just to get him into the fight a little sooner. It is a little risky, but I figured that I want him with the army as soon as I can, so it's important to keep him around. 2 Gorehords are on the periphery, or actually, never mind, just 1 Gorehord. I'm actually wrong. Just 1 Gorehord is in the back here, ready to kind of help push the front. They are a little further back, which is because they don't have shields. On either flank, we have my usual double Centaur single Chaos Warhammer with Poison combo, ready to deal with whatever my opponent might have thrown at me. So you can see my opponent's build also very wide. Catching me by surprise. My opponent over here does have a unit of Wild Riders, 2 Dryades, as well as a Brand Wraith all the way out on this flank. You can see the Brand Wraith does have Earthblood, Melkos, Mystify Miasma, Foe Seeker, and interestingly enough, Blessing of the Ancients. No Call of the Woods, surprisingly, so no bonus melee attack to these guys. But basically, we're starting right on top of each other. Our units are basically right next to each other. My opponent does have these 3 paired up groups of Glade Guard and Eternal Guards scattered around the map, basically to try to spread me out, to force me to sort of divert different forces to different areas, and then kind of collapse on me and pincer me. Back here, he does have a very elite group, the Wardens of Cithral, providing, of course, their regiment of renowned Wildwood Rangers. They've got absolutely beastly stats. They're anti-large. These guys are basically super Eternal Guard, is really what they are, with armor sundering. So that's basically what they should be considered as. They're basically just super Eternal Guard. They are backing the Hawkeyes of Drakira, who, of course, provide a morale debuff. So potentially, if I try to engage my opponent here on the map edge, he's going to be able to drag me out off the map, off the table edge, and force me to route that way potentially. So that's something I have to be very wary of. And he does have a Glady here with Fear and Terror, of course, and Prey of Anathema. She's Fear and Terror, of course, because she's on a dragon, and she's got Prey of Anathema. So potentially this is a very nasty combo that I have to be very wary of. And you can see immediately as the match pops off, Micro kind of kicking in. I throw my Chaos Warhounds in against the Wardens of Cithral because they're not, these guys aren't large. And then I send my Centaurs onto the Way Watchers, trying to shut them down as quickly as I can. I want to get rid of them as quick as possible. And unfortunately, they do get a little snagged here, but we are able to mop those Way Watchers up really well. On the other flank, I actually get a charge in. My opponent was I would say, much slower on the micro, actually, than I was. So I actually get a nice little charge here against the Wild Riders, do a bit of damage, and then immediately pull away because I realize I don't want to get bogged down here. So before my opponent even realizes that I've took off about a quarter of his Wild Rider's health, I'm already pulling away, and I've taken almost nothing and no damage in return, and I'm going to be able to outpace him very easily. Here in the pits, in the meantime, you can see my front line is clashing almost immediately. Blackhorns, Ravagers, and Kazrak pushing in. These 3 units of Gores are swinging over to this flank to try to mop up this blob, and I'm basically committing a section of units to each group. Actually, over here I have not done that yet, but look, you can see my Ungor Raiders pushing forward to get some shots, and my opponent does launch the Withering Fire on my Goreherd there and on the Kazrak, but we get in. We've got Apocalyptic Vision. These Eternal Guard are not going to hold very long. I still haven't moved my Brace Shaman yet. You can see there's a lot of action over on this flank, and you can see my poor Centaurs hit by Smoke Bomb, Terror Routed, are not going to do well at all. They almost rout off the field. They barely recover from the Terror Rout, but you can see these Centaurs over here completely terrified. These guys are getting really badly mauled, and Smoke bomb finally does wear off, so they're going to be able to pursue. You can see my dogs did get completely routed, and I do believe just sent off the field. We are actually able to mop up those remaining Way Watchers. You can see over here the unit's shattered and still at 13 miles, which is a big win for me. Or actually, they probably just routed off the field, I suppose. I'm not actually entirely sure where they went. I guess they just routed off the field. Interesting. There's still like a model there. But either way, we're trying to get on top of the Hawkeyes of Jakira, whittle them down as much as possible. And the fight is just going all over the place. You can see over here the Gore Herd does push in. We've got one Gore Herd pursuing the Glade Guard. Unfortunately, the Gore Herd is, despite its speed edge, is actually struggling to catch up with the Glade Guard here. These guys should be catching these guys much more easily, but they're not doing too hot. Despite their 43 speed, these guys 36. It's taking them a little while to catch up. Over here, though, the Eternal Guard will loose the Gore Herd pretty decisively. Eternal Guard really is not very good against squishy anti-infantry units like Gore Herd. Over here, once again, same situation. Gore Herd chasing out the Glade Guard. In the meantime, this blob is swinging over. You can see already the Eternal Guard is slugging out with the Gore Herd, and we are going to be able to start wrapping around, surrounding my opponent's troops. Unfortunately, over here, the Centaurs are not having a good time at all. They're getting repeatedly terror-routed. My opponent's Hawkeyes of Jakira are still around and kicking, and despite being at under half health HP, probably, or about half health right now, have the vast majority of their models intact. But you know what? The fact, granted, they are killing a lot of Centaurs, but Centaurs are pretty cheap at 700. These guys cost 1500, so that's a lot of ammo essentially wasted. And here, rather than giving my opponent an engagement with these Wild Riders or any units, or with these Dryads or anything like that, I simply have my Gore Herd continue pursuing the Glade Guard, and we are going to get a lovely rear charge here on the Wild Riders. I'm intent on cutting my opponent's mobility as much as I can to leave myself with basically just a monopoly on the mobile units. This is a really bad charge, really crappy charge on the Wild Riders, but nonetheless, we are going to get a lovely surround. Despite the Earthblood coming in, these guys are going to get badly mauled. The Dryads are coming in, but the Wild Riders, as they try to pull away, are going to get pursued. Melkoth does go down one unit of Centaurs, but we just have so many Centaurs. We can really apply a lot of pressure. Blade Guard getting routed off. The fight is going on all over the place, so my opponent with the Dragon could potentially do some nasty mop-up, but he's actually going to come in here, try to deal with my Ungors. In the meantime, he's getting absolutely dumpstered here on the flanks. You can see we've basically wiped out his 3 pockets of infantry that he started out with, have basically been wiped out. Over here, the Centaurs are going to mop up the Wild Riders. I'm not going to let them escape. They're being poisoned by the Hounds. They're being pursued by 2 much faster Centaurs. And I just simply throw a unit of Gore Herd here in against the Dryads. Gores actually trade really well with Dryads just because they have a decent amount of HP and decent enough melee stats to where the Dryads don't kill them all that quickly. I think Dryads still win in a straight-up fight, but Gores can definitely drag it out. And here they're tying down a disproportionate number of my opponent's troops. I wipe out the Eternal Guard. And things are looking really rather swell at this point. But the fight is still going on. A Prey of Anathema goes down, my poor Bray Shaman, but we've got our Ungor Raiders here who are actually going to be shooting at the Way Watchers, which is something that doesn't happen all too often. They actually don't even take off a model on that volley, which is kind of pitiful. They're very blobbed up, which is a huge mistake on my part. But we are able to get a good chunk of damage in on these Weight Watchers, whittling them down. And by surrounding my Bray Shaman here with a bunch of infantry, we are going to be able to soak up at least a few of those shots, zone these Weight Watchers away, and these Wardens of Citadel are not having a good time. Over here, the Glade Guard has actually managed to escape, which is a little bit of an issue, but you can see we've mopped up the Wild Riders, and now my second cavalry contingent is swinging in. Still a long time to go on the clock. You can see the Dryads took a good beating from the Gore Herd. They do kill a few of them there, but the Gore Herd should be able to outpace them. They still have 38 base speed to the Dryads 36, so my opponent can't really catch them. Over here, the Glade Guard, a really odd situation. You can see they're firing at the Gores who have outpaced the rear units. This is really weird. I don't know what to say, really. But you can see the Gore Herd is just running these guys down. They're going to break, and they're going to get massacred by the Gores. Just a really weird situation, this pursuit, but it doesn't really matter. We're going to be able to wipe these Glade Guard out, no problem. And I'm basically just leaving these Dryads. At this point, this is a pointless fight. These guys are all too slow to catch me. I don't want to waste my time with them. I'm going to mop up some Glade Guard, and this is where I really need to get some stuff done. I need to deal with this Glade Guard. I need to deal with these Hawkeyes. I need to catch my opponent's Lord, try to get rid of her. You can see we are focusing here very heavily with the Centaurs. Now, granted, she's got physical resistance. She's got 50 armor, but Centaurs, they hit kind of hard. They've got 32 weapon strength. We've got Hounds on her, so hopefully there will be some slows, and of course the Dragon is only at 90 speed to 95 of the Centaurs. So we are doing some pretty good ship damage here over time. Unfortunately, I'm not able to get the Hounds on her until just now. You can see I'm trying to cut the Dragon off here with the Gores, but she's able to get clear. You can see I actually cast a Bray Scream there, and you might be wondering why. Simply to keep my vigor up. It's only 5 wounds of magic, so it's an easy thing to just throw out there. In the meantime, my main blob is basically just pursuing these archers, trying to get rid of these Hawkeyes. I really don't want this debuff going off. There's still 30 of them. That's something important to keep in mind. Despite being at a third of their HP, they still got 2/3 of their models. So that's something I'm very wary of. And unfortunately here, despite our best efforts, the lady is going to be able to get away. She's lost over half her HP, or about half her HP, but Melkoth is going to go down, slow down my Centaurs. We're still pursuing her, but we're not able to get like a full surround or anything. And now with the Dryads coming in, even though they're somewhere getting intercepted by Gors, we're not really going to be able to push through. And you can see the Dryads, these guys are very badly beat up. The Gors have a huge edge in HP. They're going to be able to chop them pretty good. But seeing that the Dryads are pushing in, I leave the Gors to surround the Branch Wraith, and I'm simply going to pull away with the Centaurs. And let the Glady escape. I don't really care enough about that. You can see I've been pulling Goreherd back in. Fight is at this point, it's basically just coming down to endgame. You can see Ungors and Kazrak here pursuing. I'm pulling my Shaman over here, and we're just collapsing these Dryads very, very quickly. My opponent does try to do some stuff over there with the Gors, but at that point decides to simply GG out. So very drawn out, very sort of hectic fight that was all over the place. My opponent had a very wide build and actually kind of paid for it in the early game when I got a really meaty charge in on the Wild Riders. Took off a massive chunk of his HP because he was too busy on his other flank with his Way Watchers. So I managed to kind of take advantage of that. I also managed to isolate his pockets of infantry and archers and wipe them out one after another, which was very, very useful for me. These guys are really definitely Gors with shields are definitely a very good choice, I think, against the against the Wood Elves. They're pretty quick on their feet. They've got enough speed to catch most stuff. And they do have shields to block at least some shooting. Plus, they're fairly cheap at 550, and they'll trade really well with everything except for War Dancers, I'm pretty sure. Ungor's good support tool. Maybe I should have gotten an extra unit of Hounds in there instead of 3 Ungors, but they did an okay job at just shooting at my opponent's archers, applying a little bit of pressure. Centaurs, of course, a massively valuable unit that their kill counts might not indicate it. Same with the Warhounds. Just being able to tie down and wrap up a lot of these archers early on was a huge win for me. Really helped set up the game for me. And you can see none of the units here really shining as far as kill count goes, but overall I was able to whittle my opponent down, not take too many losses, and come out on top. For my opponent's build, definitely interesting, definitely an annoying build, especially if you're fighting on the fringes of the map, if you can bait your opponent to fight your Way Watchers on the edge of a map. Between the Hawkeyes of Drakira's leadership debuff and the Glady's Fear and Terror, you can rout entire units and really cost your opponent entire chunks of their army that way. So it's definitely something you have to be very wary of. Because it's minus 16, I think, from the Hawkeyes. It's another minus 4 or 8 from Fear. Terror kicks in at 14, I think, leadership. So you can pretty quickly, between the huge damage burst that's probably going to come in, and then the Fear and Terror and all that, and you could easily kind of force a unit off the map really quickly. So definitely something to watch out for. Good game to my opponent, Ada Moose here. I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you found it fun to watch and entertaining. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe down below. If you have any comments, any criticism, anything like that, be sure to share it and I'll respond as soon as I can. As usual, I do appreciate you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.